Pessoal, não vamos esquecer de acionar o sino.
Folks, let's not forget to hit the bell. Hello, warriors of the Arte de Guerra channel. Today's video is one of the most technical of the year 2025, which is just beginning. We are going to talk about the construction of the T-54, T-55 family of combat vehicles, which had a huge influence on projects worldwide. It was developed in the Soviet Union, but then continued not only in Russia, but also in other countries. Anyway, it's a highly revolutionary project. But before starting, I wanted to tell you that I am Commander Robinson-Farinazzo, a Navy Reserve officer, and this is the Arte de Guerra channel, a platform for military, strategic, and geopolitical analyses. So if you're new here, subscribe to our channel and give us a like.
Se inscreva no nosso canal e dê o seu like. Dito isso, vamos ao vídeo de hoje. Bom,
that said, let's get to today's video. Well, the first thing we have to say is that the T-54, T-55 family, we're going to make a presentation here, but it didn't just appear out of nowhere. That's the big truth. Well, we need to remember that the Soviets, especially in the 1930s, had a family of military tractors. In fact, it was dual use. They used many tractors in agriculture and adapted these tractors for military use. So what happens? When you build tractors, you learn about tracks, you learn about suspension, engine performance, behavior on terrain, and a series of other things. So, let me show you something that is very interesting.
Então deixa eu mostrar uma coisa para vocês que é muito interessante.
These are some of the families of tractors that the Soviets had. This one is the S-65. This one is also an artillery tractor. And this one is the Voroshilovets, named after Kliment Voroshilov, a marshal of the Soviet army. So, here's what happened. The engineers who worked on the tractors gained a lot of experience. They bought the suspension from the American Walter Christie and used it. Christie was a race car designer. He made a very good suspension. The Soviets had difficulty at that time in obtaining materials from abroad and bought Christie's suspension. A good part of the generation of Soviet combat vehicles was developed based on the Christie suspension.
Foi desenvolvido em cima da suspensão Christie, inclusive aquele foi uma das maiores inovações em termos.
In fact, that was one of the greatest innovations in terms of armored vehicles during World War II, which is the T-34-85 family. Look, folks, here you have two examples of the T-34. This one is the T-34-76 with a 76mm cannon. So you can already observe the following, some quite interesting things, okay? Which is the angled armor, a low silhouette. The T-34 was a medium combat vehicle, not a heavy combat vehicle. That's the truth. And its angled armor has a very good advantage, which is precisely the fact that you increase the protection of the combat vehicle through it. Why? Because when you have angled armor, the tendency of the projectile is to ricochet off it. And this one here is another evolution as well, which is the T-34-85, an 85mm cannon that could already stand up to Germany's combat vehicles. Look, folks, I'm going to explain with this cell phone. It's not an advertisement for Sony's cell phone. It's just the object I thought would be easiest to explain to you how angled armor works. You take this cell phone, it is 8 centimeters wide, right? Everyone can see here, it's 8 centimeters wide. It turns out that when you change the angle of the armor, I'm doing this with the movement of this cell phone. Instead of 8 centimeters wide, you have 12. It will depend a lot on the angle you set. In other words, you have the projectile. It will have a longer path to travel, and it will lose its energy. So this was a fantastic insight by the Soviets that completely changed the concept of armored vehicle construction for the Germans. I will show you now. But this simple principle demonstrated here illustrates well the concept of angled armor that is still used today. When the German army invades the Soviet Union in June 1941, the best armored vehicle they had in service was this one, the PZ-KPFW-4, Panzerkampfwagen 4, the famous German P4. You notice that it's all straight. It doesn't have angled armor. It is all straight.
Vocês notam que ele é todo reto, ele não tem blindagem angulada, ele é todo reto. Muito bem. Aí, os alemães capturam
Then, the Germans capture a Soviet T-34, send it to testing grounds in Germany, study the angled armor, and eventually, the Germans put into service some time later what is considered one of the best tanks of World War II, which is the Panther, the German Panther. This tank, you can see it has angled armor. Its turret is quite low, a very powerful cannon. The armor, the tracks are a bit wider to move in the snow. All of this they learned from the Soviets. But what happens is the following. The Soviets didn't stop there. I already told you that the T-34 had some evolutions. It changed the cannon, among a series of other things.
Ele mudou o canhão, uma série de outras coisas. Na Bagration, eles já começam a empregar esse...
In migration, they are already starting to employ this new concept. But the Soviets didn't stop at the T-34. They were already looking to the future. They knew other challenges would come after World War II. It's important to say that the Germans also didn't stop at the Panther. After the Panther came the Tigers. This here is a German Tiger I. And you also have the Tiger II. They were extremely powerful tanks. I'm going to show you now a photo that my friend Alexandra took at a museum in Europe showing the armor of the Tiger. Follow along with us to see where Germany reached. Well, there you see a real photo of a tiger, right, in a museum in Europe, right, courtesy of our friend Alexandra. He sent the photo, and you compare the hand with the armor. And in the corner, you can also see the armor scheme of the Tigers. It really wasn't easy to penetrate this armor, but on the other hand, you needed a lot of power to move all that weight. Well then, you could observe the angled armor as well. But the Tiger had a problem, right? First, it was very heavy, difficult to build. The Germans managed to make only a few, especially the Tiger II, and it had many mechanical problems. That's the truth. Meanwhile, the T-34 is like an improved tractor. There you take a farmer who drives a tractor, and he can drive a T-34. It's an extremely simple vehicle, very easy to build, maintain, etc., to repair, in short. The Soviet project was designed for agility and availability. The vehicle is easy to repair, easy to build, cost-effective, and easy to operate as well. It is one of the projects that truly revolutionized the armored vehicle industry worldwide. But as I mentioned, they didn't stop at the T-34. Let's see how they advanced. Well, this here is the IS-2 or JS-2, the Joseph Stalin II. In some places, you will see it as JS-2. There was also the JS-3, which came next. The Soviets captured a German Tiger and saw what was good about the vehicle and made this one, but it didn't last very long. Shortly after World War II, the T-54 entered service. You will now see a presentation of the T-54, T-55 family. Then I'll come back with several important observations that I always mention, folks. The T-54, T-55 represents modernity. That's where the paths begin to be effectively redesigned.
O T-54, T-55, ele é a modernidade. Ali se começa efetivamente a redesenhar os carros de combate, né? Acho que a história dos carros de combate modernos começa ali.
Modern combat vehicles begin there a break with World War II, without forgetting the lessons of the mission. Let's take a look at the design of the T-54, T-55, then we'll come back with more considerations. Stay with us. Soviet steel. The rise of the T-54. Today, we will explore the fascinating history of the T-54 tank, one of the most iconic combat vehicles of the 20th century. Imagine battlefields obscured by smoke and shrapnel. It is in this brutal setting that the T-54 emerges as a symbol of Soviet determination in the Cold War. The Red Army learned the hard way about the firepower of German tanks. The T-54 was the Soviet Union's response to the challenge of creating a tank that would dominate the battlefields of the future. From the flames of war, the birth of the T-54. In 1944, as World War II ravaged Europe, Soviet engineers were working on the successor to the T-34. The new tank, Object 137, was to be superior in all aspects: firepower, protection, and mobility. The 100mm D-10T gun was capable of destroying any contemporary tank. Forging a champion, engineering the T-54. The Soviet engineers, many of whom had witnessed the horrors of war, worked tirelessly to perfect the tank's design. The T-54 went into mass production in 1947, just 2 years after World War II.
Apenas 2 anos após a Segunda Guerra Mundial. Era uma prova da determinação e engenhosidade do povo soviético.
It was a testament to the determination and ingenuity of the Soviet people. Anatomy of a predator, design and features of the T-54. The dome-shaped turret with its low silhouette made it difficult for the enemy to hit. The sloped armor offered maximum protection against enemy projectiles. The 100mm D-10T gun instilled fear in the hearts of Western commanders. It was agile for its size, thanks to the V12 diesel engine and robust suspension system. Evolution of an icon, the emergence of the T-55. In 1958, the T-55 went into production. The T-55 had a more powerful engine and better armor with an NBC protection system. These upgrades ensured that the T-55 was a threat on the battlefield.
Mar de aço. Produção e proliferação global.
A sea of steel, production and global proliferation. The T-54 and T-55 were produced in impressive numbers, with over 100,000 units manufactured. Exported to dozens of countries, it became a symbol of Soviet influence during the Cold War. From Cuba to Vietnam, from Afghanistan to the Middle East, the T-54 became an essential element in the arsenals of nations aligned with the Soviets. Forged in fire, the T-54-55 in combat. The T-54-55 proved its worth on battlefields around the world. It was used with devastating effect in Vietnam, fighting against American forces. In the Middle East, it faced Israeli tanks, earning a reputation for robustness and reliability.
Israelenses ganhando uma reputação de robustez e confiabilidade. Legado de aço. O impacto duradouro do T-54.
Legacy of steel. The lasting impact of the T-54. The T-54 became one of the most emblematic tanks of the 20th century. Its design influenced a generation of Soviet tanks and continues to inspire armored vehicle projects. It represents a time when the world was on the brink of nuclear annihilation, a symbol of Soviet military might. Echoes of steel, the ongoing legacy of the T-54. The T-54 is not just a tank, it is a symbol of an era and Soviet military engineering. Modernized variants of the T-55 are still in service, a testament to its durability. The T-54 reminds us that peace is a precious commodity to be protected at all costs. Join me next time as we explore untold stories of weapons and conflicts.
Enquanto exploramos histórias não contadas de armas e conflitos.
Well, folks, in today's video, you had the opportunity to learn about the T-54, T-55 family. It continued to bear fruit. Then comes the T-62, T-64, T-72, T-80, T-90 family, up to the Armada. We will talk about all of them. Then you can write to us. Leave your comments here.
A família do T-62, T-64, T-72, T-80, T-90, até chegar no Armata aí, né? A gente vai falar sobre todos eles. Depois vocês escrevam para cá, coloquem aí quais veículos vocês querem que a gente analise.
Which vehicles do you want us to analyze? I want to analyze a good part of the Soviet Union's military production, because I think it was revolutionary. I also want to analyze the MiG-31, Korolev's R-7 rockets. We also want to analyze the MiG-25, T-72, which is the object of desire in the war scenario. We want to analyze a lot of important things. The AK-47, a lot of important things, because it actually reflects a construction philosophy that I think is very important for Brazil. I think it's a lesson we should have here, which is practicality, ruggedness, extreme flexibility, ease of construction, and cost as well. Brazil should take advantage of this. Our mother is losing Engessa to buy. Engessa, no, we've already lost it, right? Losing the hydroelectric plants for us to buy junk abroad. It's really unfortunate. It's very sad. That's why I think we need to learn the military culture of other countries. And we try to effectively show this to you here on the Arte da Guerra channel. Right to the channel here. There's still a lot to be said about the T-54 family. Put your questions in the comments. Tell us what you think, what you would like to know. We will analyze it and make other videos, other productions. So right here, leave your comment. Tell us where you're speaking from, what city you're in. We want to know more about you. There's also our course school from the Arte da Guerra channel. Let's try to take the courses there. And for those interested, there are books from the Arte da Guerra channel store on Amazon. Lots of good stuff. 54, 72, lots of cool things, right?
Muita coisa boa, lá tem coisa do T-54, T-72, muita coisa legal aí, tá? Então colabore para o crescimento da nossa mídia, você pode colaborar através do Super Sticker ou Super Chat, ou se tornando membro do nosso canal, tá?
From our channel member. And also, anyone who wants to contribute via Pix, it's here in the description. I need to remind you that there is now the Arte da Guerra channel in English. This video, in fact, we want to make in English, and it should be out this week as well. I'll leave all the links here in the description. And we'll be back shortly then. Always with responsibility and commitment. And faith in Brazil, folks. See you later. I just want to show you a really cool book to gain knowledge from. Folks, I want to show you a really cool book in line with what was taught in today's video, which is this one, Red Steel. Okay? The Secrets of Soviet Victory in World War II by our friend João Cláudio Platenic Pitillo. João Cláudio, for those who don't know, has been on the Arte da Guerra channel several times. He owns the Guerra Patriótica channel, a partner of the Arte da Guerra channel, and also has the 9 de Mayo group on Facebook. João Cláudio is a very prolific writer, and he also has this one about the Great Patriotic War, which is a compilation of Stalin's writings and the Red Army in Vargas's sites about the Brazilian period in World War II. All these books are available on Amazon and also on the professor's website, which I will leave here. And I always remind you that by buying our books on Amazon, which have the link here in the description, as well as buying from the Guerra Patriótica folks, you are supporting independent media.
As mídias independentes.
Subtitle by Sonia Ruberti.